Why is it that you give children a toy and they would rather just play with the box?
Well, hello there, good people. Hi, Jason here with Green Country Agroforestry. Today we're going to talk a little bit about mindfulness in the garden. I know it seems strange. I'm going to be mowing my yard with a hand sickle, but hopefully it'll make sense before it's all over. The more I work at converting our yard into garden and orchard space, the less I have need of a lawnmower. There's little strips here and there that get overgrown. They need tending from time to time. But as it turns out, a lot of the things that grow here in these little strips, like the grass and the chickweed, are things that the ducks would like to eat. So we'll just cut them out and give them to the ducks. I'm cutting around this right here, which appears to be some kind of wild lettuce. One of the advantages of using a billhook sickle or a hand sickle is it allows you to be more mindful about what it is that you're cutting. And so if there are plants in here like this wild violet that you don't want to destroy, you can take a moment and see what's there before making the cut. Pushing a lawnmower, you just can't do that. This particular lettuce I want to talk about for a moment, so I'll bring the camera in closer and we'll talk about this particular wild lettuce. So this particular wild lettuce has these very, very broad leaves, very broad and straight leaves, which is what you typically find on Lactuca Virosa. Lactuca Virosa. Like all the other wild lettuces, it does have spines on the midrib. It produces a milky sap from the leaf and from the stem when cut. The taste, honestly not too bad, but it is bitter. So this particular wild lettuce you often see being used by herbalists to produce tincture for pain relief. Is it effective? I don't know. You have to really experience being mindful in the moment when you're working in the garden. It's, yeah, you have to experience it yourself. I can't tell you what it's like. You have to do it. You see things with a different sort of clarity. You can see the workings of nature around you. You can see the interactions going on between all things. You can see and understand your place in all of it. There's a lot of clarity that can be obtained in the garden. Okay, so here we have a Lamium Amplexicaule. Lamium Amplexicaule, also called henbit Deadnettle, and it has these leaves that clasp the stem. The stem is triangular. These are edible. Don't taste particularly good, but they are edible. And they are just about done with their life cycle. As they approach the end of their life cycle, they'll begin to get that powdery mildew. That's what eventually will decompose the plant. And it's a normal, natural thing to happen to a plant for it to get a disease close to the end of its life cycle. That's just nature cleaning up. Over here we have another dead nettle. This is Lamium Purpureum, still in bloom, so I'm going to leave these guys. The bees are still visiting from time to time. They haven't moved all the way back up into the trees where the locust blooms are yet. But that's where the bulk of the bees are this time of day, in those patches, those tangles of locust blooms. You see them back there. There's another one back there behind that row of trees there. Oh, another one way back there. You can see all those white blooms this time of day. They're very brilliant, easy to pick up in the sunlight once you know what you're looking for. Black locust trees, Robinia Pseudoacacia. They feed tons and tons of bees. But whenever it gets hot, and these are a little bit cooler, closer to the ground, the bees will come down and
get some of the nectar out of these flowers. This is a wild geranium growing here. Wild geranium is something that I try to remove from the garden beds because the root system is just huge and doesn't leave a whole lot of room for anything else. And usually my garden beds, if they're the raised beds, they're for alliums. Alliums don't like the competition for root space at all. So geraniums and alliums, not good companions. Geraniums out here on the pathway or in an area that I'm not gardening in actively at the moment, not a problem at all because of those massive root systems. They hold the soil really well. So whenever I'm not working it, the geranium's fine. I can leave that there. It's going to do its job and everybody's going to be happy. But I am going to trim it back, which won't kill the plant. Whenever I'm looking for a wild lettuce that I actually want to cultivate, I'm looking for this one right here. This is Lactuca Canadensis. The stem of the plant has no spines. That's how you can tell the difference between this and a prickly lettuce, which is Lactuca Serriola. We'll show you Lactuca Serriola here in a minute. It has these deeply lobed toothed leaves with tiny little spines on the underside of the midrib. Tiny little spines. Like all the other Lactucas, it exudes a milky sap. And it may be bitter. However, of all of the wild lettuces that you will find growing in your yard, Lactuca Canadensis is the one that is most likely to not be bitter. So if you're looking for a wild lettuce that you can actually eat, not one you're looking for medicine, this is the one, Lactuca Canadensis, that you really want to be looking for. And let's see what this one is like. It's a fairly large, well-developed plant. So the leaves are going to be a bit tougher already. I'm going to have to chew a little bit. Mainly you'd want to pick these for the fresh greens. They're much more tender. However, if there's a problem with the flavor, having tender greens is not much help. Got to eat an awful lot of the mature leaf before it really starts beginning to feel bitter or taste bitter. But you pick the young tender ones, and those are just fine. Okay, we'll leave this one and we'll try it again later. I think I have one that's less bitter than this, but we'll let it grow for now. I'm only going to save seed from one or two. Nice oblong spine on the midrib. But this plant, as it gets older, you may notice gets lobes on the leaves, serrations, deep ones sometimes. Like this one is very deep, down here very deep, deep serrations. And one other thing, spines on the stem. So spines on the stem, and then leaves that may be lobed, a bit like Lactuca Canadensis. Very similar in appearance. No spines on the stem of Lactuca Canadensis, spines on the stem of Lactuca Serriola. This is Lactuca Serriola, or a European wild lettuce. So Canadensis comes from North America, Serriola comes from Europe. This one's more bitter. Already it's more bitter. I'm not even going to bother eating this because I already know it's going to be more bitter. Now you get one that doesn't have lobes and it doesn't have spines on the stem, and that would be Virosa. This one has spines on the stems. So although the younger leaves haven't developed those really distinct lobes yet, these teeth, and they don't all have it. Because I can find the spine on the stem, I know that this one is actually not a Lactuca Virosa or an Asian wild lettuce. This one is actually a Lactuca Serriola or European wild lettuce. Okay, close up on the stem, Lactuca Serriola. Lactuca Serriola, you see spines on the stems. Spines on the stems. You reach down here and you grab it. Sometimes it'll get spines in your hands. Spines on the stems. It's Lactuca Serriola. You do have the spine on the underside of the leaf. But Lactuca Serriola has spines on the stems. Lactuca Canadensis, much more deeply lobed or toothed leaves. Spine on the underside, the midrib. No spines on the stem. North American wild lettuce, European wild lettuce. Right next to each other. Okay, so once again we have Lactuca Virosa, the Asian wild lettuce. Lactuca Serriola, the European wild lettuce, also called prickly wild lettuce. Spines on the stem. You can also see, if they've been somewhat hybridized, spines on the stem showing up on Virosa. They've been hybridizing, and sometimes you can see plants that have some characteristics of both. Lactuca Canadensis, North American wild lettuce. No spines on the stem. Never spines on the stem. Spines on the stem, it's going to be bitter. It's going to be one of these two or a hybrid variant if you're in North America. So if you're looking for a lettuce that's good to eat, you want this one, Lactuca Canadensis. If you're looking for one that's good to make your pain relief tincture out of, you want either one of these two or a hybrid of these two, Lactuca Serriola or Lactuca Virosa. There you go, girls. See if there's anything in there you like. That's all we've got for you today, good people. As always, I hope you found today's video informative or entertaining. If you did, you know what to do. I'll catch you next time. But until then, get out there and get growing. There we go.